Well, it's happened. They talked about the UPS buyout today, which honestly is a joke. Anybody that takes it is out of their mind. I feel like if you're about to retire or something like that, it might be worth it, but they're offering us $1,800 per year that you've worked, which is nuts. I've been with UPS for 10 years. Like, that's a slap in the face for everything that we've worked for. So do not fall for that. If you are a driver, don't take it, don't do it. It's ridiculous. You are worth so much more than that. Know your worth. Always know your worth.
So I spoke about this a couple months ago on the Millionaire Morning Show, and I covered it extensively. In addition to me covering it from the lens of the UPS drivers and the union winning huge contracts, I believe it was last year, and you've seen a whole bunch of stuff on social media. A lot of it was misinformation, but it was a whole bunch of stuff on social media that basically detailed and highlighted how UPS drivers and a lot of the people that was a part of the union got these huge, massive contracts and pay raises. And then that coincided also with the UAW and the auto workers looking to get their big pay packages, which made the big three, or I guess you can say all of the automakers here in the United States of America, because it's a trickle-down effect with what happens with the UAW and Unifor up in Canada. It ultimately informs how they're going to do negotiations and what kind of pay packages is going to happen to other automakers that's not even unionized. But the point is that those big contracts were the precursor to what you see now, which is UPS trying to lay off 20,000 workers. But before they lay off those 20,000 workers, what they're doing is they're proposing a buyout package for people, specifically drivers, that has been there for an extended period of time. And essentially what it is, and we're going to deep dive into this, because again, I would usually preserve this for the Millionaire Morning Show, but all of the drivers are starting to get a lot of their letters in the mail. And so I have been sent some of the things from people, and they asking me, to tackle this. So I'm not going to wait until Monday. I'm going to tackle it right now. But the point is that they are basically, in a nutshell, offering the drivers or offering the people $1,800 per year in a buyout package for you to leave UPS. So essentially, this is ideal for people that are looking for retirement. They trying to get the people that they paying the most to get up out of there so they can promote and save close to up to maybe $1 billion a year. Or people that were looking to leave the company in the first place. Here's your incentive to get out of here and get pushed out. And so the union are telling the people, don't take this deal, because obviously the union and union dues will be affected. And the people are saying it's not worth it in order for me to take a pay cut. Here's the caveat to that. If UPS is looking to cut 20,000 jobs, and again, you got to evaluate the situation that's best for you. If UPS is looking to cut 20,000 jobs, are you going to make the cut? Let me rewind for a second, because I want to make sure that we all on the same page. And I got to take you back a couple months. I'm not going to take you all the way back to last year when they won a contract, but I'm going to take you back a couple months to the announcement that UPS was making and that they was pushing out to the media. And really it was an analyst call also, which jumped their stock a little bit at the time, into what they were looking to do and the announcement that they were going to look to trim the workforce and why they was looking to trim the workforce in the first place.
Now we're going to turn to UPS announcing layoffs for 20,000 workers and the closing of some facilities. Rebecca Jarvis is back with the big picture. Good morning again, Rebecca.
Yeah, nice to see you, Michael. And these are big job cuts coming to UPS. The company announcing that they will lay off those 20,000 workers and close a number of facilities as it dramatically reduces shipments of Amazon packages, something that's been in the works for quite some time. Like so many companies recently, though, UPS also saying it won't be able to forecast future guidance given the current macroeconomic uncertainty with tariffs. Railroad companies, trucking, airline, and shipping companies have all felt significant slowdowns recently, with U.S. companies effectively sitting on their hands waiting to see how long and how impactful President Trump's tariffs will be on their businesses. Shippers experienced this surge in traffic early in the year as U.S. businesses raced to get ahead of the tariffs and stockpile merchandise and supplies. And now we have this ongoing uncertainty. The more of it that we see, the longer it lasts, the more concerned economists are that it will lead to further job cuts.
So basically what they're telling you is uncertainty, but that's not the biggest deal. The biggest deal had more or less to do with the contract, the ballooning costs, and their inability to control costs. And so if they can reduce headcount And here's the real caveat: increase automation. Amazon is racing, and they have multiple different things that's happening in their business that generates a lot of revenue, such as Amazon Web Services, that allow for them to reinvest to make their deliveries much more efficient, much more profitable, and leaning into AI and automation and removing all of the actual physical workers, or as many physical workers as they can, within warehouses, so that they have less shrinkage, less theft, less mistakes, less issues, and more robots, and leaning into the physical aspect of AI. Because we look at AI and we talk about, Chat GBT or Gemini, and I did a live stream on the Patreon where I broke down what is really happening in AI and latest advancements and innovation, how you can use it to get a bag. So if you're not a Patreon member, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. But essentially, UPS is paying attention to Amazon and its competitors such as FedEx. We know that the United States Postal Service, they always going to be way behind, but they always going to be subsidized, and they can't be allowed to fail. They're going to be subsidized by the federal government, which is our tax dollars. And at some point, I believe that even the USPS is going to be siphoned off or spun off and only be a fraction of itself. And we're going to privatize a lot of the different things that they do. We'll probably keep a portion of it for like rural places and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think that we'll eventually siphon that off, because it is a money-losing operation for the federal government, and they're continuing to try to figure out how it is that they can save money. But neither here nor there. The point is that this was all a precursor to ultimately be the thing that determines whether or not people are going to keep their jobs, on top of the fact that the union was fighting for higher wages, which was probably like their last hurrah for getting a good deal or getting a bigger deal for their union members. And this is now what a lot of the union members, what a lot of the people that are drivers, what a lot of the people that are getting the letters, these are the conversations that they are now having.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Long time since I've posted a video, but we got to talk about it, this whole UPS buyout thing. All right, well, let's get into the weeds and let's talk about what's going on. So if you haven't received one already, people are starting to receive, as of today, a letter that basically confirms what's been going on in the media. People, speculating about this happening, but it's true. UPS is essentially trying to buy out their full-time drivers, their feeder drivers, and that kind of thing. And why is this happening? Well, I've read a couple articles about it, but essentially UPS is going to be converting over the next few years many of their, at least 200, the article says, 200 of the hubs are going to be converted to be very, very much automated. You want to call them smart hubs or whatever you want to call them, but the packages basically move themselves and load themselves and all that kind of stuff. And they don't need a bunch of people doing the work anymore. So once that happens, essentially they don't need all the part-timers in the building. So what they're trying to do is get rid of a lot of the drivers so that the part-timers can then be promoted to be drivers. And that saves so much money. Not only are they saving money, obviously, on not having the part-timers do the physical labor in the hubs, but then those part-timers doing the driver positions where they're already in a progression and they're not making as much money for a while as the full-time drivers already do. And those full-time drivers now being gone, like the UPS is projected actually to save over $1 billion a year once this is all said and done. So it's a massive, massive, big change for the company. Automation is the future. Love it or hate it, it's all coming. AI and all that kind of stuff. But UPS, as always, is jumping on board and making big changes to save money. And it all comes down to money. It always comes down to money, right? The shareholders, the people at the top are looking at the numbers and they're seeing that UPS can save a ton of money by doing this. And so it's actually just much, much cheaper to try to pay off their current drivers who have been there for a while, or even if you haven't been there for a while, it's much, much cheaper to try to offer you some kind of a buyout deal and get you out than it is to keep you going and doing a great job as you always have. So that's essentially what's going on. But yeah, so in the letter, and by the way, the union doesn't want you to take the offer. I understand why they don't want you to. It's technically, I guess, a breach of contract for UPS to be doing this. Essentially, they're supposed to be creating new jobs throughout this contract. Obviously, that's not happening. But obviously, the union is going to be losing out on millions and millions and millions of dollars in union dues and all that if the UPS workforce is much less. So it's a huge deal. Like, I mean, this is the type of thing that could, I don't want to say it, but like break the union. This is like huge. Like over the next few years, a lot of stuff is going to be changing because of this. But let's talk about it. So people are getting letters in the mail as of today, and it definitely confirms that all the drivers, all the full-time drivers, feeder drivers, all that are being offered a buyout. And what it is you'll be receiving, if you take it, $1,800 for every year you have been with the company. So it gives an example of somebody that's been with the company for 27 years, and I think it said something about that winds up being about 40, I think 46 or $48,000 or something like that. But that, again, keep in mind that is pre-tax, and this is going to be treated as like a bonus, right? Like a company bonus. You'll be lucky to receive,
which means you'll get taxed at the highest rate.
half of that money. So even if you have been with the company, let's say for 35, 40 years or whatever it is, let's say that offer goes up to be, if you've been with the company that long, let's say it's even like $60,000, $65,000, right? You're only going to get about half of that. So maybe $32,000 in cash.
Welcome to what people that are in the top 1% have to deal with and pay on a regular basis. But I'll cover more of this on the Millionaire Morning Show, and we'll deep dive into it on Monday. Make sure you guys tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon, man. We're doing a lot of work to make sure y'all stay afloat on how you need to invest, and then more importantly, how you need to adjust to the changing conditions of what's happening in the workplace so that you don't have to depend on these companies in order to make sure that you can feed your family. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments.